Hello, and welcome to Birth Through the Veil. I'm Melissa Kemrudin, the host and creator of this repository of stories and wisdom. We are coming to the end of the ticket sales for Earth Daughters. If you were thinking of coming, the last 50 tickets are on sale right now, and then it's sold out. This episode is another in my collaborative series with Earth Daughters. My goal here has been to give you a little taste of some of the women who you will get to learn from and work with at Earth Daughters this June. So this week I have Hannah, the Primal Priestess, on Instagram joining me. Hannah will be at Earth Daughters this year in the Healer's Grove offering quantum healing and activation. We actually didn't talk very much about her offering. We got really into just the conversation we were having in the moment, but I will add a link in the show notes so that you can check out the details. I don't know if you follow Hannah on Instagram, but she curates one of my favorite accounts. She's raw and authentic, and I just love the work that she's putting out there. In this conversation, we talk about carrying old stories and letting them go, patterns in our lives that are invitations to evolve, aren't they all? Finding grace for each other in our intimate relationships, and so much more. I started following your account when you posted something about being raised Christian and then going to like a prison school.
Yes.
I don't even know when that was. That was some time ago.
You know, I've done a lot of podcasts over the years and no one has actually ever asked me about this and I rarely talk about it. So.
Yeah, I haven't heard you. I don't think I've heard you talk about it again. It's like you did like a little mini series and someone sent it to me. Because I was also raised very conservatively Christian and I knew people who went to these schools. Mm-hmm. I was like a really good girl for way too long. So, you know, only just like,
yes.
Until I wasn't.
You know, and I think that's, it's a really big part of my journey. It's something I'm still integrating and healing from. So probably why I don't talk about it too much. But yeah, just I think it also has shaped a lot of who I am and how I got into the work I do. And, you know, even why I free birth and why I do the things I do is because at one point in my life, I was 100% controlled on everything from where I looked to how I sat to the clothes I wear to my hair being perfectly slicked back every single day. My hands had to be on my knees at all times while I was sitting. I couldn't make eye contact. We weren't allowed to speak. So I had to the point, you know, where I'm 15, 16, 17 years old and I am completely being controlled. And at this point in my life, I shut down a lot of who I was and I made this little promise to myself to completely liberate her one day. Yeah. And I think that I didn't realize it at the time. And it's taken me until now, you know, 15 years later to realize, oh, that's been a driving force behind even like my choice to free birth of just like, I will never be told what to do. I will never be, you cannot tell me. I will forever resist. I will forever fight. I will forever speak up. I will forever get loud because I know what that other end of the spectrum is to have literally no voice and no say. And so kind of everything I've done in my life for the past 15 years has been like against that and to reclaim that part of me that was completely shut off. So it is very relevant to my story.
A beautiful piece that like just from it as an outside observer, like I saw you share that and I saw that there was a lot of pain in that sharing and in that past, of course. And then what it looks like as I don't know, that was like a couple years ago for sure that you shared that. Like it was, I think you maybe had 2 kids, like a little baby boy, maybe when you were sharing that. And what it looks like is like rather than rallying against that, it looks like you own that part of yourself now, that independent woman. Like that's not a like I'm fighting this thing. It's like, no, this is me, and like that's not part of it anymore. Yeah, you know, it's not like at it. And I found for myself like that to be a poignant part of my own journey when I realized like that's where pain becomes gift, right? Your pain becomes your gift. And I can see that in my children and in myself. But then once we move past that and it's not like I'm against that thing, it's like, no, this is what I'm for. Yeah. This is what I'm into.
And it's, you know, that's part of I love, I mean, my name on Instagram is the Primal
Hmm.
Priestess, and I come back to the priestess journey, which is going into our underworld and using,
Mm.
the things that we go through, the things that could make us victims, our wounds and our pains and our trauma, and these things that were designed to break us down. And we actually go in and we access them and we claim them, and they become our medicine and our
Yeah.
fuel. And these things that are like, oh, this is what I'm here to do. I went through that and it was horrible. And you know what? I'm not going to be a victim to it. And this is also how I went through my first birth.
Mm.
I had a very traumatic first birth with my daughter. We were separated for 8 hours.
Mm.
There was a lot going on there. And part of, it's that same thing of why I free birth my next two, or I look at what I had to go through. And so often I think women go through, like, I'm sure you've seen this.
Mm.
Women go through birth trauma and then they become doulas, and it's the fight. Let's fight the system. I'm going to go into the hospital and advocate for other women. And it's kind of like you go back into it to just continually play the game with it. And I had to fully step away from that, whether it's, the way I was raised and what happened as a teenager, or whether it's my birth. It's like saying, okay, I'm not going to actually play in that paradigm. I'm going to take it and I'm going to move on and I'm going to move forward. And
Hmm.
it's still a part of me. It's still this thing that, shapes everything that I
Yeah.
do. Um, but it's not a game I play anymore.
Yeah.
I'm playing a game with the system.
That's the like a beautiful piece of growing up is realizing I can take what I want from that. And like stuff
Mhm.
keeps coming back, of course, from like
Yes.
whatever we've experienced, like more pieces to integrate when you thought it was all done. Um, yeah, like it's I don't think it's ever over. I don't know that we live long enough to transcend all of that,
Yeah.
but that's the journey. I was just talking to someone about this in reference to so I'm doing Wapio's quantum midwifery course right now, which is
Beautiful.
just such a gift. She was talking about breastfeeding and how it's the first rite of passage, perhaps for babies, right? Is like breast crawl and finding the breast. And with my
Mm.
first baby, I had a hospital birth where they were like, babies don't know how to breastfeed. You got to like turn that breast into a burger and smash the baby's head on it, you know? And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you for teaching me this. I never would have figured this out because that's so not intuitive, right? Like I would have never thought you had to like force a baby onto the breast. And then I became like a baby doula and like taught people like, oh no, you turn it into a cookie and you smash the baby's head onto it. Um and so as I'm like I've realized for a long time that's like not the way you have to do it. I've had a couple babies since then in a different way. But I was just thinking about what that meant for my first little baby and how that might have shaped him and had this like sadness of like, I can't believe I did that to him and I let that happen. And then I look at him now and he's 16 and I'm like, that kid, like, no one will tell that kid when to start something or stop something. Like, no one will tell him how it
Yes.
goes. And I can just see it like from his first rite of passage. We were like, this is the way it's done and it's happening right now. And now he's like, never again, never again. And it's
That's my daughter.
challenging as a parent, but it's going to really serve him well in life.
Yes, yes, I relate so much with that, and I can see the difference in my children of yeah, I mean, yes, their births and their breastfeeding experiences, but also even just the way I show up as a mother, and that agreement that we have between us of like, I will let you lead versus
Mhm.
I'm gonna be the one telling you what to do.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's definitely shaped my children as well.
Yep. Yep. It's all a trip. There you go. I knew we'd launch right in there. So that was my that was my first introduction to your content, which is totally different than
It
what you share
is.
generally.
So what happens is, and a lot of people who go through it's called the TTI, the teen. Oh my goodness, now I'm
Mm,
spacing on it. The troubled teen industry, and a
yeah.
lot of children who go through the troubled teen industry. I found this very common. So if you're listening and you go through this experience,
Mm,
guess what? It's normal. Usually it's like once a year or every couple of years, it'll get resurfaced in you
hmm.
through either connecting with someone or you heal something. For me, it's typically like right now they're coming out with these documentaries on
Yeah.
Netflix. They come out with one every couple of years, and I watch it, and it's like, oh my
Mm,
gosh, this really insane traumatic thing happened to me, and I like because it's so long ago and because it's so interwoven into who I was in my formative years. And because it actually is incredibly traumatic, it's not something I'm usually thinking about. And I'm like, oh yeah, that happened to me. But then when I watch the documentaries, I'm always floored that I went through that. And so then I post about it, and it kind of fuels me for a little bit, and I go into these really deep dives, and it's really heavy, and so I have to move on from it, and then I
Mm-hmm.
come back to it. And I've noticed a lot of survivors of the TTI go through this. It's very cyclical resurfacing, and we move through it very slowly, as you said. I don't think we're ever designed to fully complete. I always say to myself and to just the women around me, if we my goal is to become a very wise elder crone, and that is when I will be whole. That is when I will be complete. I don't want to have all the
Mm.
healing and the completion right now at age 30. I'm
Yeah.
gonna save that for when I make 85. So so I
Yeah.
welcome I welcome these cyclical awakenings of wounds and traumas and the deep parts of me. I know that I just move forward every single time with them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What's your process? So when things like that come up for you, like, we have these pieces that we know are not quite integrated, or like, that's not really how I want to be in this life.
Yes.
Like, that's, to me, that's my trigger of like, that's something not well integrated. Like, that I'm
Yes.
still existing in a former version of myself, or in like the little girl version of myself is still perceiving that one. What's your process for integrating that?
Oh, it's if you follow me or in my work at all, I love the word container. I use the word
Mm.
container
Hmm.
obsessively, and this is really where I would put one. It's once that shadow is illuminated to me and it's crystal clear that I need to work through something, I'm going to put it into a container. And whether that means I'm doing somatic therapy, or if I go see a talk therapist, or if I take a course on integration, or if I'm joining some kind of group. This past year, a lot of this stuff was surfaced for me, and I went on a solo retreat to work through some of this with my mentor. Um, just like knowing that this is being illuminated and I can't just keep living my life as is. Like something is coming up into my body because it wants to be met. So, what kind of container can I put myself in to meet it? And when it's something simple and small, I can just do these practices,
Mm.
in my day, in my home. I can take an hour to myself on a Sunday, but when there's something like this lifelong trauma of being, abducted and brainwashed, it's going to require a bigger container. So
Yeah.
I went on this retreat earlier this year that was really, really helpful. I moved out a lot of it somatically and had a lot deeper integration. Um, but I think that is the process, is instead of running from it and trying to just go back to your life,
Yeah.
it's you have to actually create the container for yourself. And a lot of people meet these wounds and they're like, oh, well, I guess I'll deal with it. I'll feel it. I'll think about it. But that actually doesn't move any energy. We actually have to put it into some defined
Mm.
boundaries of like when and where am I actually going to do it? Or we don't actually get the completion that we're looking for. So
Yeah, and it doesn't stop coming back to you either, right?
no,
Like we keep getting
no.
these invitations, like louder and louder.
Mhm.
Um, that was a piece of wisdom my dad shared with me when he was dying. Actually, is that he said, if you don't process the things as they come up, it will come back to you. Like you will not get away from it.
Yeah.
Like at the end, he was like, um, making peace with his life, and there were pieces he was never willing to look at, and he said, but they're here right now, and now I
Wow.
can't not look at them, and it's really hard right now because now I'd like to be
Mm.
doing, like I'd like to be in peace with my family. And he was able to process those things, but that was just a piece of wisdom he gave. It's like, as they come, just take them as they come, because that's the gift, is to take them in little pieces throughout your life rather than waiting for the end when it will all come.
That gives me full body
Yeah.
chills, and it's so true. When I'm not, I know when it's time to start working through something, typically when it starts coming to me in my dreams.
Mm.
I dream
Oh.
frequently that whether I'm dreaming that I'm back in the TTI, which is a very frequent dream, or,
Mm.
sometimes I might dream about an ex-boyfriend that I have incompletion with, that or whatever it is. There's a dream that comes through, and to me that's, okay, you have space in your mind, you have space in your body. We're going to work through this thing that we've been
Mm.
holding on to. And so, yeah, they do find their way back in always.
Yeah, that's very poignant. I had a really strange dream last night that I've been thinking about. Not
Ooh,
strange, it's totally a reflection of like a thing that I know I haven't processed and that I don't really know what to do with. And I was like, oh, I had a dream that it played out again right now. And then I was so angry. And it's sort of like, you know, when you wake up from a dream, it's a little bit funny because it's
yes.
like you're quite dramatic in the dream. And in reflection with your like beta brain waves, you're like, that's silly.
Mhm.
But no, that's an invitation.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it is. And that's, a lot of the work that I do with women as we talk about, you had brought up Earth Daughters and what I
Mm-hmm.
actually do in person with women
Mm-hmm.
is create those containers. And so, for things like, okay, a lot of my clients bring to me a reoccurring dream, and that's something we're going to really drop into these deeper states of consciousness with and begin to process. Um, Together, whether that's somatically or looking at the energy agreements, or really just coming to clarity with realizations or getting information from the guides or from your body. There's a whole process we can go through. And I found in my own experience and working with a lot of my clients, very often it can be as simple as a somatic clearing that you just need to move out right then and there out of your body so that your body is like, hey, I've been holding this scream in
Mm-hmm.
for 20 years. And it's not so much that you need to, I mean, sometimes we can just go out into the woods and scream and hope that it got let out. But when we drop into session, we actually bring the somatic, we bring the moment back up. We go into the timeline and we travel all the way back to when it occurred. We bring ourselves back to the moment, and then we have the release that we need. And so it actually, like in the container of it, we bring it together. And it's not just like going to the woods and screaming and hoping that maybe when you were 15 you had a scream and maybe now we're releasing it. It's kind of just bringing it all together in this very intentional space. It's not always a scream, but
Yeah, yeah.
there is the body has a story to tell. And so really that is the main goal of my sessions is what is the story that the body wants to tell, to make room. We You had asked me earlier about using your body as a vessel
Yeah.
for manifestation, and um, your body has so many stories and memories and desires. And if we're not actively moving out what was in the past, we're just holding it in, and then we create more of it in the future. So my goal with manifestation is to let's move everything out that's within so we have space for new somatic patterning, for new levels of pleasure, for new levels of wealth, for new levels of bliss. And we have to do that clearing work. We have to be getting out all the things that we've been holding in so that there is
Mm-hmm.
actually space for new. Um, it's a full underworld alchemy process, truly.
Yeah. Yep. It's a big invitation.
It is. And it's a choice we have to make. Um, I always say a lot of people are really good at making affirmation lists or stating what they want. Everyone can list off what they want. Everyone can list off what they don't want, actually. That one's
Yeah.
super, super easy. We can look at our lives and name off everything we don't want. And we can also say, I want a big house, or I want amazing orgasms, or I want all this money. Um, but what does it actually feel like to obtain those things?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of the patterning work we have to do in order to actually claim it. You have to create the space to feel it. Um, because the big house and all the money and all the things, like that version of you still has conflict. She's still judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
She still has comparison. She still deals with debt. She still deals with fights with her husband or fights with her children. And it's not just like you have all these external things and everything's perfect. She actually still has all the parts of you that you've always had, but she knows how to hold them better. So we learn how to hold what we have right now so that we
Mm.
can expand what we can hold later, if that process makes sense to you.
Yeah. Yeah, that does. What do you think? Like, what does it like tangibly mean? Like getting into your body?
Mm,
Like, how do you connect with?
yes. So I guide women through a deep breath work, breath work and
Mm-hmm.
visualizations, going into really deep states of consciousness, like the theta brainwaves,
Mm-hmm.
essentially, would be tangibly how it
Mm-hmm.
exists. But then once, I mean, a lot of women can drop into that realm, but then what do we do when we're there? And so that's why I love being guided and I love guiding because it's, you set your intentions. And then if you're with a woman who's guiding you, they can kind of anchor in and give you the prompts and you can go and explore from that really meditative state
Mm.
instead of just kind of dropping in and being like, well, now I don't know what to do. I'm floating out in the abyss in my body and there's trauma and there's pain, but I don't know what to do with it. And so
Yeah.
we have that roadmap of going into it when you have someone anchoring you. And it
Mm.
is super possible to do on your own. I teach that in my course that I have online on like self guiding. Um, and it is possible. It just takes a lot of practice. And sometimes there are things that are really hard and messy to sift through. And the deeper I go, the more I forget why I came here. So it
Hmm.
is helpful to have a guide at many points in
It's
the
true. It's
journey.
hard. Like your own stuff is hard to see, right? Especially
Yes.
the And it's funny because it's actually usually pretty obvious to everyone else what your stuff is, right? Especially
Yes.
people close to you. Like I'm sure my best friend could like just lay off like if you dealt with this and this and this, you'd be like, "Phew," right? And I could do the same thing for her. But for myself, I'm like my issues feel really complicated. They're not. They're
Right.
the same as everyone else's issues, but when they sit inside me, they feel really hard to access
Mhm.
or really hard to move through, even if I know what they are.
And I think it's a play on time too, because the whole goal of being in the meditative state is to be very present. But then in order to go do all the work we want to do, we have to go into the past and the future of what happened to where we want to go, but also stay present in your body right now without, so there is that, I still, in my sessions, you can stay present. Let me pull the past
Mm-hmm.
forward. Let me call the future back. We'll bring those to you so that you can move through them. So you don't have to completely leave. So you can stay present in the body and witness what occurs in the body. When you're present in the body, let's talk about my TTI experience. If I stay present in my body and I call forth the experience of being there in the faces and the people and the names, then I can actually begin to sense, oh my gosh, okay, when I picture my therapist at the time's face, like my whole body just completely like restricts, and then I can start
Mm-hmm.
to work with that. Okay, where is that tension? Like it's up here. You can even feel it right now just talking about it. It's all in the shoulders. So then we have to slowly begin to move these patterns out. Um, and that's more you talk about what's the tangible experience,
Yeah.
whether it's very body led because sometimes when there's tension, it's like I want to get rid of it. I want to get rid of it. And it's like, okay, well, let's just be with it for a moment. You've wanted to get rid of it your whole life. So let's be with it. Let's allow it to be tense. Let's see yourself in that tense state and receive it. It wasn't safe. It was very dangerous. Your body did such an amazing job at tensing to protect. Let's
Mm-hmm.
honor that because so often we see tension in our own bodies and we think, oh, something's wrong there. There's a wound. We got to get rid of it. I got to release it. But it's all tension serves a purpose. We don't
Mm-hmm.
just tense up to because we're wounded. We tense up to protect. This happens within the womb as well. And then every time, maybe let's say this was my therapist, then every time I met with an authority, I tense up again
Mm-hmm.
and I close myself. But this is just, but maybe I'm like, but this is just my boss at work. And why do I hate my job so much? Or this is just my husband asking me a question, And so we have these patterns that are in our body that are not serving us anymore. But first we have to go in and recognize that they did at one point serve us. And now it's time to release them so that we can write new patterns in our body so that we're not taking these stories that are 15 years old
Mm-hmm.
and spewing them all over our parents and spewing them all over our children or our partner or, our friends or wherever they go. So I find the somatic work is really, really important. And I love energy work. It's so powerful so that we can have clarity and we can bridge these realms and explore the timeline. But I always say the most powerful energy work, quantum leap you can do is actually just in your life. It's actually going against that pattern in your life. It is finding yourself, perhaps you and your partner are in a conflict state where you have a disagreement and you find yourself here and you find yourself defending. And yes, we could go, let's go do energy work on that, but you can just choose like to stop, take a breath, open, and see your partner with love. That, and not say that thing where like, you did this wrong. You could just say, oof, I'm feeling so tense right now. I just want to spew at you and I don't know what else to do, but I'm not going to do that. I just want to
Mm-hmm.
breathe with you instead. And that is the true healing process because we can explore it in the quantum all day and we can rewrite patterns all day. So fun. But if you're not going to take that and actually put it into action in the real moments in your life, you're not going to have those results. You're just going to have a lot of really cool meditative experiences. You have to put it into form in the real life. And that's I would say like really key in my work and how I hold clients. Most of my clients have been working with shamanic practitioners or Reiki practitioners. They've been doing hours of meditation and they go on these really amazing retreats and have amazing healing. But then their lives don't have results because they're not bringing it with them into the present moment. They're just going outside and having experiences. So I love to create a space for women to bring it into their day to day lives and put it into real practice.
That's the real magic, right? And the real
Yeah.
invitation. I remember when my husband and I were on our honeymoon and we were listening to all these like marriage audiobooks, probably I'm sure instigated by me because I'm a nerd like that. And we listened to this one that was like, and we're on a honeymoon, we're like everything is magic and like nothing will go wrong. We figured everything out. I mean, like we obviously know that's not true, but
Yeah.
that's what it feels like. And we were listening to this one, and this I think it was David Schnarch, I think his name is, and he said people think they get married for companionship and for like a safe place and like everything's going to be okay when that happens. But actually, marriage is a people growing machine,
Mm,
and it's the abrasions of it that like that's what it's for. That's why
yeah.
you're together, and it's that was very confronting in the moment and has turned out to be so true, right? Like there's definitely companionship and fun and all of that, but also like you're living right next to each other and you have to deal with your shit. You
You
have
do.
to. Like
Yeah.
it's not going to work out if you don't find grace for each other and you don't
Yeah.
soften in the moments when you really don't want to.
Oh, so true. And it's not about like coming back to the elder crone. I'm always like, it's not about being perfect right here, right
Hmm.
now. I don't need to be the most perfect version of myself. I don't need my husband to be the most perfect version of
Hmm.
him. I just need us both willing and
Yeah.
open and compassionate, just like I want him to have so much compassion for my imperfections. I have to have so much compassion
Mm.
for his. It's like that really big ownership and moving from you versus me into like us, kind of like versus our old patterns
Mm.
and willing to explore them together. Ooh, I love it.
Hmm. That's that to me is like the juicy magic connection of marriage is when it's like what's the like the deal breaker, like the thing that makes it not a deal breaker is like he's always willing to work on it. He's
The
always
willingness.
interested
Yeah.
in hearing or in like evolution of
Hmm.
himself in whatever way, whatever that means for him. That doesn't necessarily mean the same thing for me.
Yeah. Oh, I love this topic as well. This was something that came up in my stories, and comes up with women I work with very often because a lot of the women I work with are very mystical, very spiritual, and they're always like, "Well, my husband isn't doing. He doesn't want to do my tarot cards and my energy work with me, and does that mean I have to leave him?" And I'm like, "Whoa. I actually don't want my husband to be doing those things. Those are my things. And it's not so much about like are they doing the same exact things and it's like are they actively moving forward. I need
Hmm.
forward movement. I don't need him to look exactly the way my journey looks. I don't need him to be doing all the same practices, but I do want to see that you have a forward movement and a drive to be better and a willingness to play with it and to a desire to grow. That's all I'm looking for from my husband.
Yeah.
That doesn't always mean he's always growing and always perfect. He's allowed to have his seasons, just as I am. But that desire is always really key for me. And for a lot of women, when you want to peel back your relationship and see if this is the right partner for me, it's like, you're not on the same journey. That's okay. But like,
Hmm.
do you both want more? And can that be enough?
Yeah. I find the same thing in birth when talking to to couples or women about their birth plan, who's going to be their birth support person. And I have been this person who I was disappointed in my like first baby my husband and I had together. He wasn't like reading the books and doing the things I thought he should to prepare himself like I was. And I'd been a doula for many years, and I just thought I knew how it should look. And he was like, I'm just like not interested in reading any of the books. And I came to realize that like he has his own intuition about birth and his own knowing, and he is the perfect support person, and it is not related to reading those books. And actually that is my style of learning, that I want to read books and I want to find information. And he actually didn't need that at all.
Yeah.
He was the perfect person. And in that way, in his like not needing all of that, he also was trusting me for that,
Yes.
it was my birth. And he was trusting that it was going to unfold exactly the way I wanted it to, and that I would let him know how I would like to be supported in the moment. As all birthing women do, I did. I let him know what I wanted then. And with our next baby, I was just like, was able to see him that way and realize that his journey is entirely different. And he's, the perfect support person in trusting me and then just being there in the way I want him to in the birth.
Yeah, I agree fully. That has been my experience as well. Um, my husband was, I just fall in love with him every time I give birth with him because he's just
This could lead to a lot of children,
perfect.
right?
Yes. It's so perfect the way that he shows up. And I think his birth prep was really just learning to not only listen to me, but to witness me and to witness my phases and to know what I want through them. And, I've got a couple times in a couple different birth videos of my son and my daughter where he's just sitting there smiling like this, watching me labor. And I'm like, I'm hysterical. I'm absolutely losing my mind. And if you ask him about it, he'll say, leading up to birth, every day I told him, like, I can't wait. It's going to be so crazy and it's going to be so intense. I'm like, I can't wait because I know what's there for me, and I'm so excited to move out all of this intensity. And I know I want to go through it and I want to feel it. I want to feel my body birth these babies. And so when I'm losing it, he's watching me, and you ask him now and he's like, you got exactly what you wanted. I was so happy for you that you were doing what you wanted. And he says he had to hold the joy. He had to hold the bliss in the room. He had to hold like that other end of the spectrum, and not kind of like just go into my emotion with me and try to manage it the whole time. So his prep for my birth wasn't, about reading books about labor. It was about learning me as his wife.
What a gift.
Yeah, and becoming sovereign as a man and as a husband, and like not, I think that really is a big part of the masculine is, and being embodied in a leader as a masculine is not just being completely whipped by emotion, but standing your ground. So that was, our birth prep.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I've seen that in births I've attended. And I can definitely think when I think of the photos of my husband in our birth, he does seem so stable, as I'm clearly like riding intense waves of like whatever was going on, like not present in the room in that moment. And then he's there holding the space, right? Like just so calmly.
Yeah. So beautiful.
Yeah. It is so beautiful. Yes. The free births are magic for sure.
Yeah. They've been really prominent in my journey. All of the births, right? Each an initiation, bringing me closer into myself. And I have like a mantra for each birth. But my most recent birth, the mantra that came through me, like when I say it came through me, like I'm in labor, and the words just, they arrived, and my body was just let it move through. And it's something I've been holding on to.
Do you say it out loud?
Yes.
In birth? Yeah.
Yes. With my son was, it's safe here. So every time the contraction hit, it was like, it's safe here. And you can see me, I'm rocking. It's safe here. It's safe here. And I tried saying that with my daughter's birth. I did say it quite many times. But at some point it was like, yeah, you know it's safe, but like let it move through now.
Mm.
And so I was just, I was having really, really big waves. And then towards transition, I just got really still. I get in one spot and
Mm.
probably like for an hour, 30 minutes or an hour, I just completely still one spot as the waves came through, like just let it move through. There's nothing to do here. There's no action to take. There's nothing wrong with feeling pain. There's no position to be in. There's nothing to do to make it easier. You
Mhm.
just let it move through you. And this is something that I have taken. I always say, like,
Yeah.
lessons from free birth get to go
Yes.
into your life with you. And anytime I'm in this season of struggle, of strife, of what feels like I'm just being pushed into a corner, you just let it move through. There's nothing to do. And this is, as you and I were talking about the somatic work, like we have these painful, traumatic things that come up in our life, and like we just have to let them move through us. We have to go with them. Sometimes they are really uncomfortable, and it doesn't mean you're wounded and broken and you have this big thing you need to fix. Like it's just part of life. There is peaks of intensity,
Mhm.
and we let them move through. Um, and it's been, yeah, really powerful to bring that mantra with me from the birth portal into my life.
Yeah, I can really relate to that. We had babies around, I think twice, maybe around the same time. I
Oh
have
my
a
gosh.
like 3.5-year-old almost,
Okay. Yes.
and a 1-year-old. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
but I know the 1-year-old. It was close to the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're my two free birth babies, and yeah, I can think with the 3-year-old. I remember feeling like so like I was whole like no 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 no, and I had to. I remember sitting with that one and thinking, no, it just has to like that I had to let it go. And it was a thing of being afraid and being like, everything's gonna tear, everything's gonna split open. And I'd be like, that's okay. That's okay. Like my body was made for this. My body was
Yes.
made for this. Like and I trust it. But of course it would sound like I trust it. like not really.
Yes.
But yeah, just telling myself till I believe it. And this last one was so much more um intentional and like sort of peaceful in my own mind. There's actually a video that I haven't watched yet that I'm gonna check out and see what it actually looked like on the outside.
Yeah.
Um, but for that one, I just remember thinking like it was so intense moving through me, and I just remember saying more. Like at first in my mind, probably for a few hours, and then eventually I know it was out loud. I go more, more, like, and then I just wanted like to be grateful for it that I am so lucky to be able to birth in this way, to have like a safe home
Mm.
and a safe partner, and it's not an option for everyone. Like I know that like free birth isn't an option for everyone, even though I know them like the mantra in our community is like it's the most natural thing. It's going back to our roots, and like it is, but it's just not available. I know it's not available to everyone. Even like just to know it's available is part of it being available. And I'm just
Right.
so grateful that it was available to me. And then I'm just like in my own living room with just my partner and I, and yeah, and just like out loud being like, thank you. Like every time
Mm.
it moves through me, this is I know it's a beautiful, healthy baby, and we're almost going to meet her. And like, what else could I feel other than gratitude? And
Oh,
I don't think, like, I wouldn't say, like, and then it was painless and it was joyful and it was orgasmic. It was not. It was not
yeah.
orgasmic. It
Totally.
was, I would say, probably objectively painful, but like my suffering wasn't there.
Right.
I did not
Oh,
suffer through the pain. I owned it. It was me. I knew it was me, and it was moving me towards something I wanted. And when there's no suffering and pain, it's okay. Like it's
yeah.
manageable. It's something I can sit with and be grateful
Mm.
for.
I love that, and I relate so deeply with
Mm-hmm.
that on just it's, yeah, accepting where you're at, um, and not resisting the process to be reborn. Oof,
Like
I
it's
love it.
really actually our only option ever with whatever
Yeah.
hard thing you're going through, birth or whatever, like the death of a loved one, processing hard things from your past, whatever life throws at you, and it throws it at all of us. Like it doesn't it doesn't matter like your
Yeah.
race, your religion, your socioeconomic status, like we all have stuff.
Yeah.
And our only option, like the control is an illusion. There is
Yeah.
none. It's just going to happen, and like that's our choice, and that's something I have to continually remind myself of as I struggle
Oh
against
yeah.
my struggles, to be like, no, thank you, and more. Give me
I
more. I'm better
I
because of
find
it.
yeah, I find a lot of the work I do with women and the work I do with myself is that continual reminder of like there's there's no timeline where you have like no problems ever. And I think with so many women on the healing journey, let's call it, are like uh, under this false belief that there's this timeline where everything is just perfect all the time and you never have a problem and you never have a conflict and you're always quote unquote regulated, which I could go on and on about that because regulation does not mean calm and happy. But you know, and it's like, oh, like I keep finding myself angry. Like, what's wrong? I'm like, well, you're a human. Humans get angry. What do you mean? Like, shit happens. Life's hard. Sometimes you get angry. And so that's I feel like the spiritual community I feel like something I actively fight against is that like that the sign, oh, if you have anger or if you have jealousy or if you have comparison, you're like you're low vibe and you're wounded and something's wrong with you and you have to heal something and it's so untrue. Like we're biological primal animals. We're gonna feel jealousy. We want to be a part of the pack. We want to be seen. We want to be validated. We want to be appreciated. We're so afraid that our pack might turn against us. There's nothing wrong with feeling judgmental or putting people in a hierarchy. I think the part that we do want to work on is not letting those things be the driver of our life and not being those things um what spark the action that we take, right? Like I might be judging a woman, but that doesn't mean I need to speak negativity towards her. Like I just notice, oh my gosh, I'm holding judgments. Okay, like that's super normal and natural to hold a judgment. And also, um, I don't get to decide her worth, and it doesn't have anything to do with my worth and our value. And so being able to like see those parts of us without letting them, yeah, drive our behavior essentially is, I think, the real healing work over just ridding ourselves of them completely and ascending the human nature.
Yeah, it takes
Mm,
the edge off it, right? The edge
yeah.
that hurts you and hurts everyone else
Yes.
when it is the driving force. And I think it's the driving force when we don't bring conscious awareness to it, right? When you're
Yeah.
just like you're carrying on with your feelings, like out
Yeah.
front, like this is what carries me forward. And again, that's a presence. That sounds like a presence exercise to me, right? Like when I sit
Yes.
in this moment, even like again when I've been going through hard things in my life, like really hard things, and I can't imagine how the future is going to play out, and it's not going to be okay. Like it just like my life can't go this way. Like it can't happen. Um, then I have to pull myself back to like, okay, is it okay tomorrow? Like I don't even know. Might not be okay tomorrow. Okay. Is it okay this evening? Maybe not. Is it okay right now? Is like this moment, will I survive it? So far it's always been yes.
Yes.
Like I'm okay now. I'll check in again in a minute, 5
Mm,
minutes, like whatever it is, and I'll see if I'm okay then too. And like as you draw it back to yourself, back to that moment, like I kind of hear that's what you're talking about, that like not letting
yeah.
that be the driver, the fear, the judgment, the like whatever uncomfortable suffering emotion we're experiencing. And that's also pulled me back from the brink of suffering
Yeah.
too, when I've been able to sit
Mm,
just in this moment, however many
yeah.
moments I can handle for
It's
now.
the just we just let it move through.
Mm-hmm.
We just let it move through. That's been, oh, I'm so glad that that mantra came through. It's been so helpful and applicable to every area of my life, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's, getting hit with a really big debt or,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, dealing with death, with loss, with
Mm-hmm.
conflict, with, someone with a friendship that feels clunky or whatever it is. It's just those moments where we want to just, ugh, like we feel gross, we feel yucky, we feel like we got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you just, yeah, whew, get more into the body, get more present, allow yourself to feel it, allow yourself to move with it. I'm really big on, yes, like somatic movement with the body, but also creation energy. And this is a really big part of, as I love manifestation, is when those things come through us, when that intensity comes through us, just like in birth, we're designed to then push, take what's in and put it out into the world. We actually get to create really beautiful art. So whether that is through dance or through your voice, once again, like that could be crying, singing, screaming, but it could also just be through speaking your truth.
Mm-hmm.
journaling, art, painting, hands-on processes. I've been really doing a lot of clay work lately. That's been so fun to just take this something that's really powerful in my body and to just actually like put hands on and see actual results in front of me. And it's how I use my social media page. I know we had talked about
Mm-hmm.
that very briefly at the beginning. Um, I love social media. I think it is so fun because it is this funnel for me to um, take sometimes things that are really hard and really intense and to I love to put form, to put language, to write poetry, to tell a story, to take a beautiful picture, to video the moment and to put a story with it, to share it with the world. It's so big on my part of healing
Mm.
is actually utilizing this social media space to let these things move through me. Um, so often I think people think, oh, like I'm not healed or whole enough to share online. And I'm like, oh no, I'm sharing in the process. It's actually the process of sharing that helps me get to that completion.
That's
It's
what makes it
through,
authentic and
yes.
engaging too, right? Is like, then I can see myself in that place too.
Hmm.
If it's always polished and finished, like most of my stuff isn't, right? Like
Yeah,
that's not as relatable.
it isn't. That's the whole, there's this, if you've been in like the coaching or mentoring realm on Instagram, there's this big push to establish yourself as an authority. And
Mm.
nothing makes me roll my eyes more than a woman who is trying to establish herself as an authority. It's like, oh my
Mm.
gosh, like just be real. No one's an authority. Like, yes, you might have a lot of tools, and I think I do have a lot of tools, but I'm also like I'm continually being reminded how many I don't have. I'm continually being reminded all of the work I still need to do, and I'm not the authority on this. I'm just like I'm here to play the game with it.
Yeah. I
Um,
think that's the attraction maybe to like homemaker influencers that particularly women find on Instagram is they tend not to be establishing themselves as an authority on anything. You're sort of
yeah,
witnessing their life and they might have some sort of like purchase thing you can make, like maybe I don't know, their bread recipe or something, like you can
yes,
get in on that, but they're sort of just doing life the way you're doing life,
yeah,
and it's um possibly quite authentic. It could be, depends who you're following, I guess.
yeah. And you
Yeah.
see yourself, you feel seen, you feel validated. And that's a really, that's the connection piece there.
Hmm.
And it's so I look back on all the women who spoke up on things, who put words to things that I held within.
Hmm.
I always think about the first time I discovered kind of like the free birth processing birth trauma world on Instagram.
Hmm.
And I had a traumatic birth, and everyone around me and everyone in the birth realm at the time was like, oh my gosh, you gave birth unmedicated. You pushed your baby out in 15 minutes and you didn't have to have a cesarean. Like, no birth trauma for you. Win
Yeah.
win. And I was like, ah, and I
Why
felt
does it feel
so
so
like,
terrible
yeah,
then?
like I couldn't talk about it.
Hmm.
And I did. I had one of my birth video, and that my thoughts on it went viral on a birth page,
Hmm.
and I had literally hundreds of comments of people reaming me and telling me to be more grateful that my baby is alive.
Mm.
Um, and it was like such a kick in the face.
Yeah.
And then I found this community. I can think of this one woman, Diana Forcell. Her Instagram is Healing Birth. She does a
Mm.
Healing Birth podcast. She was the first person to put language to it, where she just was like, if if your body was touched in a way you didn't want to be touched, like you're gonna have trauma. You're going
Hmm.
to feel that, and it's okay. And like, don't let someone else tell you that a healthy baby is all that matters. And when I saw that, I mean, this is back in 2017, so
Hmm.
this is like when birth was first starting
Yeah.
out on Instagram. I mean, they weren't birth was just being allowed to be shown. Um, there wasn't all these big viral birth accounts at the time. So hearing those words was like, oh my gosh, I needed someone to say that, and that's happened in so many different ways of people stating things that I just like needed to hear, and that's really who I long to be for other women, especially for new mothers, for women who are new on their journey. Like, I want to say the thing that you're thinking that you're
Hmm.
afraid to say, and I want you to know that you're not the only person thinking it. Um, and it's not that I'm the authority on it, it's just that I have the experience.
And it will connect with someone. It's also someone else's
Yeah.
story or
You
connects to their
know,
story.
one of my recently I made a post that ended up kind of going pretty viral, and it was a little terrifying. So I've had, I've had an early birth, I've had a miscarriage, and I don't consider it traumatic at all. I don't sit with any like grief or loss. It just, I don't. And I know that that's not what I see as the common story online.
Yeah.
And it's not to ever say like no one should feel grief. Like I so honor when women are on a totally different journey than me. But it's something that I was so afraid to say, and I put it out there. And to my surprise, it ended up going viral. And just the flood of women who came in and were like, "Oh my gosh! Like I've always felt like something was wrong with me because I don't grieve that loss. I don't feel trauma about it. It just is something that happened. I never felt like super attached." And people saying like I had to like women judge themselves for going through something. And if it doesn't mirror the mainstream narrative of the women around you, you think maybe something's wrong with you for feeling that way. And putting that out there and seeing literally like hundreds of women saying, that happened to me too. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, thank you. I'm so glad I said this. I'm so glad we can open dialogue on it. And that's really kind of my goal with my social media space is to be able to say these things to, we talked about what's within. What am I holding? What am I restricting? What do I not want to be seen in? I'm going to start saying those things and let them be out and let them become this beautiful art project that is my life, that is my social media, and then connect with other women along the way. It's so fun, and it's so liberating to use my platform in that way and healing for my journey.
Yeah. And therefore for other people too, right?
Yeah.
It's not as unique as we feel it is, right? It's when
Yeah.
it makes me think of G&M too, like when like a conflict shock happens and it would have to be like it's isolating is one of the
Yes.
pieces, right? And when we can like put words to it and speak it out there and note that it's never needs to be isolating because you're never the only one that felt that way. You're never the only one that happened to. You're
Right.
you're never alone.
Right. Oh, so important to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
Well, that was lovely. Thanks so much for
truly.
chatting.
You're welcome. I
Yeah,
love I love talking about all of these things.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's my
They're really
favorite thing.
beautiful. It is. They're really beautiful topics and really beautiful subjects that I think, once again, I mean, it's what we were just saying. They just need to be spoken. It needs to be spoken. And so I'm really glad
Yeah.
to be here and sharing it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening. You can head to Instagram and birth.throughtheveil to see birth pictures or just pictures from each episode. The show notes have links and more ways to connect, along with the link to submit your birth story. I would love to hear it. New episodes of Through the Veil come out every other Tuesday. You can follow, subscribe, share, rate, and review this podcast to be in support. Until